Hi everyone, it's Maha. So today we're going to be looking at the blue and green fields in Tableau. What are they and what do they do? But before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button to help me stay consistent with producing weekly content. Now, let's get into it. For this example, I've used the Superstore data. When you connect to a data source, Tableau automatically assigns each field in the data pane as a dimension or a measure. In my case, I have 3 different tables shown in the data pane. We have orders, people, and returns. But for this example, let's just focus on the orders table here. Also, just so that you're aware, I'm going to be using the words fields and pills interchangeably. Alright, so as you can see, in the orders table, it is split into 2 sections. We have dimensions at the top and we have measures at the bottom. And it's separated by a grey, faint line in the middle. So that makes you think, oh, so then all the blues mean their dimensions and all the greens mean their measures. But that's actually not true. It's easier to think of it as the blue pills are discrete data, meaning they're finite values, and the green pills are continuous data, meaning they're infinite values. In Tableau, this can be translated as the blue pills will give you headers and the green pills will give you an axis. This concept is important to know so that we can create graphs in Tableau without guessing how it would look. I have an example here of what I mean. So for a header, what I've done is I've dragged in categories into the columns, and you can see below that we now have column headers of furniture, office supplies, and technology. Or I could drag categories into rows and I'll get row headers of the same. Something to note is that dimensions affect the level of detail in the view. So as you add more dimensions into the rows or columns, the number of marks in the view increases. So we can see here that this is a status bar on the bottom of the Tableau window. You can find this in the left-hand corner, and this shows you that we have now 3 marks in the view because we have furniture, office supplies, and technology. Now, when you drag a measure into the view, it is actually aggregated by default. So I've dragged in sales into the rows, and then we'll get a continuous axis for this field. So you can see it goes from 0k all the way to 2400k. And as it's an axis, it means there's infinite amount of values between these ranges. We can see here that the marks is just 1. And again, if we were to put it into the columns, we will get a column axis. Now, if we put them together, we have categories in columns and we have cells, sum of cells on the row. We can either make it into a bar chart that looks like what we have on the left-hand side, or we can put sum of cells onto text and we can have something that looks like the right-hand side. And we can see here that the marks hasn't changed because there's still 3 headers. In this case, the cells just populated the categories, so that reflects what we see in the marks view. Now we know the difference between discrete and continuous. So what was I talking about in the beginning about dimensions and measures? As we know, Tableau separates the data into 2 major factors. We have dimensions and measures. So what are they, and what's the difference between a dimension and a measure? So the easiest way to understand a dimension is that dimensions are qualitative data. So most times they are non-numerical data such as names, dates, or geographical data. Whereas measures are quantitative data, which are mainly numerical data. But the biggest difference between the 2 is which one can be aggregated. Aggregated meaning doing anything numerical to it. Dimensions usually cannot be aggregated, whereas measures always can. So the thing about dimensions and measures is they can swap between being continuous and discrete, and these are the possible combinations of fields in Tableau. It really depends on what you want to create. So let's go into Tableau and see an example of this. So let's drag in cells here into the rows. And as you can see, it's become sum of cells. Again, because it is a measure, it's automatically aggregated. If we wanted to, we can change this aggregation by pressing this drop down button here and going to measure, and you have all of these to change it to. It really depends on what you want to create. So I'm going to leave it as a default of sum of cells. So we know that this is continuous because it's green and it has an axis from 0k all the way to 2400k. And we know that it's a measure because it has an aggregate. So now let's try change this into discrete. So let's click on that drop down and select discrete. As we can see here, what's happened is the field has gone blue because it's not continuous anymore, and as it's giving us a header, it has now become discrete. It's still showing us the sum of cells, so we can say that this is still a measure, but it is showing us the actual total sum of cells. So now let's change this into a dimension, a discrete dimension. So as we can see here, this is a discrete dimension because 1, the field is still blue. 1, the field is blue, meaning they are headers here, meaning it is discrete. And there is no more aggregation to it, so it's become a dimension. And as we can see here, it has just listed us all of the cells present in the data. So if we go to the left-hand bottom corner, we can see here we have 6,161 marks. And that's how many cells appears in the data. So let's change this from a discrete dimension into a continuous dimension. So we can see here that because it's continuous, it's green and it has a axis. So we're going from 0k all the way up to 23k. And we can see that because it's a dimension, we still have all these individual cells numbers in between these axes. If you look at this bottom corner, you still have the 6,161 marks, but it's just plotted along an axis. So I hope this video helped you understand the green and blue pills in Tableau a bit better. If so, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you soon. Bye.